Hello Space Cats, let's try that with the microphone on, shall we? This is the first video in my new studio, so what do you reckon of the set and the lighting? Let me know in the comments if you think it's okay or if you think there could be any improvements made. Now, further to the video that came out recently about what you can do on your back cover, what needs to go on your back cover, I thought we'd deep dive a little bit further into what Blurb is, why you need it, and how you can write a good one. Writing the back cover blurb for your book is incredibly important. Think back to the last time you were in a bookshop looking for a book or you were searching for something online. Likelihood is that you picked it up and flipped it over and had a look on the back, or you scrolled down to the description to find out a bit more about it. How far do you read? You probably look at the first sentence to get a feel for it. If it interests you, you'll read on, and if you get through the whole description and you like the look of it, you'll probably buy the book. That initial interest in the first sentence is called the hook. Think of this as a buyer rather than a producer of words. Pick up some books that you have at home. What about the back cover made you think that this would be worth reading? And how did the author manage that magic trick? There are a few ways that you can make a good hook. The first one is to ask a question. If you were writing a book about space travel, you might ask, when was the last time you left Earth? I think it's a fairly good bet that none of your potential readers have actually left Earth. But perhaps they want to, and it makes them want to read your story. Or you could make a fun statement. This is what I wrote about a baby owl who is very fussy about what food he eats. What can you give a baby owl to eat if he doesn't like owl food? Joined Fidget and his exasperated mum as they try to get through another dinner time. Or perhaps you can make an odd statement that asks more questions than it answers. If you were writing a spooky story for older children, you might say, Amanda woke to find the earth had stopped spinning. It was 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, but pitch dark outside. Your first line needs to be concise and be a bit of a teaser to the rest of the story. So take out any of those extraneous words that you really don't need. On a technical note, that first impactful line needs to be above the fold line. Now, this is an old technical term that they used in the newspaper printing industry, where if you imagine a newspaper was folded in half so that they could store them and sell them from the newspaper stand, and you needed to know the headline and that first little bit of story to catch people's attention to make them want to buy the newspaper. Now, this no longer happens with books, but you want to have that same thought in your head when you're thinking about where you're going to put things. In terms of a physical book, it's good to have this description in the upper half of the page, but more importantly, if you are selling online, or more specifically on Amazon, the first line will appear above the Read More button. You want people to click on that, so make sure that your first words knock people's socks off. Credibility. Next, let's look at credibility markers in the lower half of your blurb. Now, credibility really is about somebody else reading your book and having an opinion on it, preferably positive. It might come in the form of an award, for example, and that award could be with anybody. It could be your local writing group, perhaps you won something, a prize from them, or perhaps you were shortlisted for the Carnegie Award. Whatever it is, make sure that it is very specific to your book and this story. Don't put winner of the biggest marrow 2024 in the local agricultural show, unless your book is about growing a massive marrow. You need to weave that information into what you've already written. For example, you might put award-winning author Fred Bloggs brings us a hilarious news story about your favourite character, Blob the Blob. Or if you have a little badge that your award comes with, you could add that into the design on the front and the back cover. And if you haven't won anything or been shortlisted for anything, first of all, start entering your book into competitions. And secondly, don't fret, because you can also get quotes from your readers. So you can give your book to friends and family and maybe the library and see if they'll be willing to make some sort of recommendation that you can put on your back cover. It just gives your book a little edge and shows that someone really likes it. Series. If your book is a series, then it's great to mention that in passing. It helps to promote your other book, and if people really like this one, they are more likely to buy the other. If the books need to be read in sequence, it would be helpful to imply that too. For example, in the sequel Roger Does the Vacuuming, join Roger as he tackles putting on the duvet cover. The word sequel here helps us to know that there is a sequence. But if order is not really that important, you might put something like, join Roger as he tackles the duvet in another funny book about doing the housework. Your audience. Ask yourself, who is this book for? And don't say everyone. I know it's really hard when you first start to understand who exactly is going to want to read your book. And if you're having trouble trying to figure that out, then there's a video that will help you do just that. When you know who your target audience is, then add that to the description. Not only age, but also interest. For everyone 4 years and up who loves penguins. Not only does this information help the reader, but it also helps your online platform to categorise your book. For online publishing, it's really important to get your keywords and key phrases right. Now, I only ever really use key phrases because if you think about what you might search for if you are looking for a book, you don't just type in book for 4-year-old because it's just such a way too broad thing to search for. You'd be much more specific. So you might ask for book for 4-year-old for girl who likes hedgehogs, and then it knows you're looking for a young child's book, that it's for a girl and it's about hedgehogs. That would lead me straight to a book that is age appropriate and on the right topic. If you've written a book about unicorns, then you might need to get a little bit inventive about your key phrases, because type in picture book and unicorn and you'll be faced with about 10 zillion books to look through. There are tools out there that can help you though. Google Keywords Planner is free, but you do have to have a Google Ads account. Or there is Keywords Everywhere, which I've used, and it's quite a useful tool, but you do have to pay a little bit for it. I think currently it's about $6 a month. I definitely think it's useful to use something so that you can gauge whether you're going in the right direction with your search terms. This actually is also useful even if you have a physical book and you're not going to sell online at all, because if you're going to supply bookshops, then they are most likely going to have an online presence and your key phrases will still be useful. However, if you're doing a small print run and it's just something that you want to share with your friends and family or your community, then keywords and phrases are probably something you don't really need to think about and you can skip this step. Word count. You want your blurb to be concise, uncluttered and alluring. You have one shot and about 10 seconds to hook your potential reader in. So make every word count. The sweet spot for blurb on children's books is around 150 words and really no more than 200-ish. Write an initial draft without overthinking it and then go back and edit. Is your first line a winner? Does it imply who might like this story? Have you put any credibility markers in? And then go back and remove any unnecessary words, any fillers, any conjunctions like and but and if, unless they're necessary. Think of it like additives that you get in food. Do they really need to be there? With fresh eyes, what about the blurb would really make you want to pick this book up? Ask your friends and family. Ask your library. Librarians are worth their weight in gold. And so long as they are not rushed off their feet and you ask nicely, they might be able to give you some great advice. Go on, you can do this. You've got it. If you want some further advice on how to create and publish your own book, here's my course. And if you use the coupon BLASTOFF, it will give you a whopping 50% off the price. I feel the allure of some painting coming on for next week, so meet me back here in the studio and let's see what we can make. Until then, I'm off to hum in tune with a hummingbird. I will see you next week. Nanu nanu.